Well, yeah, we had some pretty big groundbreaking news in the wrestling world. Some pretty big news in sports entertainment. Just big news in just the media landscaping. Just everything. And that's the fact that John Cena announced his retirement from the WWE. Now, I don't typically make WWE wrestling videos on the channel. Put it in the comment section if you want me to talk more WWE, maybe some AEW as well, because I do watch that as well. But with everything that's been going on in WWE, it's we're getting like only 3 weeks away from SummerSlam. Roman Reigns should be back by SummerSlam. Um, you have this freaking Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan stuff that happened last night on Monday night, and with Rhea Ripley coming back, and WWE is at an all-time high. Money in the Bank, I thought was a pretty good pay-per-view. And yeah, but really the only other I think wrestling video I made on the channel was what is it? I think it was that WrestleMania controversy stuff that ended up happening. So I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'm gonna have to ask my uncle, since he's typically appears on the sports channel, if he wants to maybe look into doing some wrestling videos and things like that, and we can just talk about wrestling and have some fun talking about other stuff. But anyways, the main topic of this video is obviously surrounded by the guy I'm wearing the shirt of, and that's John Cena. John Cena at Money in the Bank 2 days ago, on Saturday, 3 days ago, he essentially announced that he'll be he'll be retiring from in-ring competition next year, not this upcoming, not at the end of this year, but next year in 2025. He basically came out to the Toronto crowd, announced that he's retiring, said that the Royal Rumble next year will be his last, said WrestleMania in Las Vegas will be his last, and then said he said Elimination Chamber will be his last, and then he said WrestleMania 41 will be his last WrestleMania. And then if you watch the post show of Money in the Bank, he basically talked about how just because he said those were his last dates, those are not like the last exact dates he's actually wrestling. Like WrestleMania 41 will not be his actual last in-ring thing. It's going to be sometime in December, more than likely, because he says he has 30 to 40 dates booked for next year in 2025 for WWE. So because of it, he'll be able to do that wrestling and wrestle for that entire course of the year on his retirement tour, and basically wrap his career up. When I first heard the announcement, when he first came out and he had the towel, because he does the towel thing, which basically has a slogan, and the towel had "My last time is now," and I'm just like, wait a second, the towel says "My last time is now." Is he freaking retiring? And then he basically confirmed that, and I'm like, oh shit, he actually is retiring. But my overall reaction to this news was actually kind of like, wow, he's calling it a career. He's wrestling now. Again, these wrestlers always say that they're retiring and they'll never step back into a ring, because he even said in his post show press conference, once I retire, the jorts are retired, the shirts are retired, the hat is retired, essentially. I'll just be in a suit and tie, essentially. Again, I would be honestly, I would be dope to see him just end it off and never wear his gear again. But usually with the wrestling thing, sometimes these wrestlers, even in their later years, maybe get an itch, or maybe it's just money they just can't turn down, and they're like, okay, even though I'm kind of going back on my word, I'll come back for one more appearance, or maybe a few appearances here and there. But maybe John Cena will actually live by his word, because I know he's been very adamant in saying when he's done, he's done. He's not coming back. He's not going to do something pushing 50 plus because he doesn't want to go out there and, I wouldn't say make a mockery of himself, but he knows like, well, look, dude, I'm not gonna do that to myself. And at a later age in my lifetime, when I know I can't do the things that I maybe used to do, when I was like 20 or 30 and shit, even 40. And I know some people say he hasn't wrestled as well, um, in his latter years since coming back because, he's a lot older and then he can't do the things he basically used to do. But it's still fine by me, by any stretch of the means. But anyways, yeah, I'll just say, I was just blown away. I was shocked. I always knew he was gonna retire at some point. I just never figured when he would retire. And the fact that, well, he's basically retiring now, it's kind of like shocking. It was shocking for everyone, to be honest. And yeah, so that's the thing. Look, where does he go? In terms of like storylines, I don't know. Obviously, John Cena, as you can tell by my shirt alone, has meant a lot to me. When I first started watching WWE, that was my go-to guy. That was like my number one dude. And I understand, like, at that time, people didn't like him because I called him like the Super Cena thing, and then he was too corny and stuff like that, especially during PG era, WWE. But honestly, even through those years, people hated him. Mind you, it was probably only like and ending my childhood into like my early teenage years. And I don't know, I just like the guy so much, and I remember so many good matches he's had in his prime, and it's just crazy. And he's definitely gonna be missed. He's definitely gonna be missed. I know, even now here and there, like when he first like was on this part-time thing, there was times where I'm just like, damn, man, I wish John Cena would come back and liven it up. But it's like, obviously he has his movie stuff going on, and he can't do WWE as he used to. But it's like, as a fan of his, I was like, damn, I really miss him. And that was like during the brutal years of WWE, which is like the mid 2010s, up until really Triple H started somewhat taking over and things like that. And then technically, really, till Roman Reigns did the Bloodline stuff. And really, that stuff was kind of some of the only stuff I was really watching, because I was kind of like, let's just say I kind of dropped out of WWE really after Cena left full time, and then the product wasn't really that good, so I kind of like only kind of was here and there keeping up with it. And then I really, when Roman Reigns became big with the Bloodline stuff, I only really cared about that. And if there was any other good storylines, then I would obviously focus on them as well. But other than that, I didn't really care. But obviously, with Triple H now taking over, like, I'm back into it. I'm liking with what we're getting and things like that. So, yeah. But he's John Cena had a big influence on my childhood growing up and everything, and just seeing him now retire, it's like shit, man. Like, I only got to see really like his prime to the latter half of his years. I wasn't there when he first came up, and then he got through like his ruthless aggression stuff where he almost lost his job, to the Doctor of Thugonomics, to like the the middle 2000s era, and everything. So I really wasn't hooked on to WWE till like 2010, really, to be honest. But yeah, there were a lot of good moments of his out there. Like, obviously, I remember, just from my time watching, I remember his matches against CM Punk at the time. I like CM Punk now. Back then, I hated CM Punk. I hated the guy, and every time Cena would face him and lose to him, I would be so pissed. And mind you, this is when I didn't realize, like, okay, it's pre like determined and everything. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. So it's like I would always get pissed. I remember like the build up to the Rock match he had. That first time I was so pissed off that he lost. And then the second time when he won, I remember getting, I think that WrestleMania when he fought The Rock the first time, I think that was the first pay-per-view WWE pay-per-view like me and my dad ever bought and watched together, because it was so hyped at the time with Rock versus Cena. And then the second time we bought it again the following year so we could see it. And then I was so happy when Cena beat The Rock the following year. And I was like, yes, let's go. Excuse me. I remember like the first match he had against Brock Lesnar coming out of the WrestleMania he lost to The Rock. That fight was crazy. I think we even ordered that pay-per-view so we could see freaking Cena beat him. Bunch of crazy storylines, you know. His match against Daniel Bryan before he had to leave for his injury angle. That was a good match. His matches against Seth Rollins. You know, a lot of good matches in between when I was watching and stuff like that, like the Nexus stuff with that storyline, even though you can say the Nexus got cucked by Cena at that point in time. Pretty good stuff, regardless, pretty good stuff. And he always, and I even gone back and watching like several of his older matches, and things like that. So crazy, but just crazy. Like, dude's a big icon, like a literal icon. And you know, you have to really go back and look like, well, damn, like when he first came up, the man was literally told, like, dude, you're gonna lose your job, you know, because you're not getting over and you're not charismatic enough where the fans are gravitating. You're just basically generic. And then he changed it all up by doing the Doctor of Thugonomics. Then because of that, he essentially saved his career. Like, just imagine, what if he doesn't do that? What if he doesn't come up with the Doctor of Thugonomics character like he says he did, and he's literally out of the business? We don't know we don't know what WWE is, to be honest, because legitimately John Cena, coming out of that era where it was like really the Attitude Era, you know, he was the main player throughout the middle part of the 2000s to basically the early 2010s, up until the mid 2010s, really. You know, like, you take him out of everything that's there, what the hell is WWE doing? Like, obviously, you know, some fans eventually soured on him later in his career, because of, you know, him being very heavily pushed and everything, and it just turned fans off. But like, regardless, at the end of the day, like, you take Cena out of WWE in that entire time span he's gone, like, who is that guy? Who is that guy? Like, is it Randy Orton? Is it Batista? You know, was it Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker? Which they were getting to the latter half of their careers, essentially during that time. You can't really think of anybody, and John Cena put the company on his back, and he was the guy that led the charge. You know, you take Cena out of that company, you don't know where WWE is at today, to be honest. You know, and it's crazy to think about that. Really crazy to think about, like, without John Cena, the entire landscape of how WWE is and how maybe it would have operated is completely different, because really that's kind of what that was happening. WWE was kind of in that transition where they were kind of looking for that next guy, and they had two guys in Batista and Cena, but obviously clearly, as good as Batista was, Cena was clearly the guy that he was, that dude. He was the guy that they pushed. And that, mind you, the guy, he's not like a wrestling tactician or anything, like, but it's still crazy how good he is. And again, like, listen, you know, and you see how long it took them to find the next big dude, and the next big guy is Roman Reigns, when he finally did the Bloodlines character version of Roman Reigns instead of the, you know, his post-Shield Roman Reigns, where the big dog stuff, and a lot of people didn't like that either. And, you know, I feel like that's also kind of a thing of John Cena also playing into his retirement. He's just, one, obviously, I think an aspect is the movie stuff obviously gets in the way, because the man, as much as he wants to come back, he can't because the movie stuff. And then two, there's probably various restrictions of what he can and what he can't do in terms of getting physical. Because if he gets injured, well, then it's gonna halt the production of the movie he's in, and it's only gonna be a detriment to them, and that's a lot of money wasted and time cost for him to basically get healthy and heal up again and stuff like that. So Um, that's kind of the thing. Right then and there. Anyways, um, so that's kind of the stuff we're going on, and then also too, I think the aspect of him retiring, he sees the fact that okay, he probably doesn't have to come back to WWE anymore for whether it's ratings reasons or for a storyline or to get somebody potentially over. He sees the company now with under Triple H's watch, like okay, this place is going to be prospering under his watch. I don't need to come back and maybe have them tell me like, hey, we really want to push this guy. Can you do something to help this guy get over? And he could just basically go hang up everything and do it because really the company's in a good spot. You know, you got Roman Reigns, who is at the high of the food chain right then and there. I think he's got a few more years before he ends up being a full-time part-timer, even though he was mostly a part-timer. But he's still like basically full-time essentially, just with he's full-time with like a part-time schedule essentially. That's what Roman Reigns is. But regardless, they got Roman Reigns who they can rely on, and he's gonna be a baby face again with this bloodline storyline going on. Obviously Cody Rhodes with the highs that he's going through, clearly. Like it's kind of like him and Roman Reigns as the guys. You know, and clearly once Roman Reigns ends up like essentially like being more part-time, that's when it will transfer over to Cody Rhodes being the guy. But you got a bunch of young up-and-coming guys that are really damn good, like, you know, Braun Breaker, Ilya Dragunov, you know, a bunch of good people that are coming up. I know I don't watch the current product of NXT and stuff like that, but you get my drift. Like WWE has a really bright future, especially under Triple H. A lot brighter future compared to the last administration. But I just also feel like that's why Cena's retiring. He knows, like, well, we got a bunch of good guys, a bunch of good wrestlers, where it's like, well, shit, you know, the old guard, for me, I'm not really much needed. And basically, once Cena retires, like, the actual, like, last member of the old guard that probably still currently wrestles, from, like, that type of era would probably be Randy Orton and CM Punk. Other than that, it's like, all these other wrestlers were like 2010 and up. Other than that, like, I think him and CM Punk, Orton and CM Punk are like, yeah, after Cena retires, will be like the last few people from like the 2000 eras of WWE that, excuse me, are currently wrestling within the company. So it's crazy to think about, man. It's crazy to think about, like, lots of the old guard, and Randy Orton's still going strong, you know. And mind you, you know, the best thing is hopefully Randy Orton and CM Punk, because they're older, they stay healthy, so then they can have a good transition to end their careers off as well. But anyways, before I end this video off, what are potential matches that we could potentially see in John Cena's last run? Are certain opponents that personally I want to see? I think clearly, I know CM Punk's made the mention. CM Punk, their storyline literally is historic. Like, CM Punk is probably like his best, you know, rival, you know, of all time. I know, excuse me, geez Louise. In CM Punk's case, that's probably his best rival of all time in his career, really. You know, without John Cena, CM Punk doesn't become who he is. He doesn't become the character that he ends up becoming about the whole best in the world stuff and everything. Like, that 2011 Money in the Bank stuff was absolutely crazy. When you go back and watch it, it still holds up really well. And that really takes CM Punk up to the next level to where he's at today. Like, if not for that moment, shit, what is CM Punk at that point? He probably just another guy, and probably the same guy he was coming up. You know, just a guy that has a lot of talent, but more than likely is probably going to be in the mid card and fighting with mid carders. But that basically blew him up to be the CM Punk we know today, the CM Punk that everybody loves today, essentially. So you get that. I'd love to see one more match between him and CM Punk. That would just be a great way to end their storyline. No story needs to be attached. It could just be like a one match. I did see somebody say, like, you know, I did watch a wrestling video. Like, so I heard somebody say, like, what if that first Netflix on Raw, you get John Cena versus CM Punk? That would be a great match. That would be a great match and a great way to kick off Raw on Netflix. Have John Cena and CM Punk have their last match on that Raw. But many great matches. You know, I go back to the Night of Champions match, obviously the Money in the Bank match. You know, the one Monday Night Raw match, you know, that they had where Cena overcame CM Punk finally to get to WrestleMania. That was, see, when at that time I was like, thank goodness he finally beat his ass. I was so happy when he finally beat him that one Monday Night Raw in 2013. I was so happy. I was like, finally he overcame CM Punk finally. But hopefully we get another CM Punk match again. Obviously CM Punk's got to stay healthy. And we got to get that match. I think that match could still be a solid match. Another match I think we could see. Well, another match that I'm kind of bummed out that we probably won't get is John Cena versus Edge. Now, Edge is currently in AEW, but man, if Edge was still in WWE, that would be another big match that I think a lot of WWE fans would love to see. Like, you can make the case, because I know a lot of people, and I'll get to Randy Orton, but you can make the case like, should if Edge was still in WWE, that could be his last match in WWE, because John Cena and Edge, they're basically intertwined. Their rivalry was like damn near heated back in the day. But it sucks. It's like, unless I guess Tony Khan gives approval and Edge is like, hey, I really want to wrestle Cena before he retires, and Tony Khan gives the approval, because we know Tony Khan ain't on hot. He ain't very buddy with WWE. But it's like, if they were cool and they had a forbidden door type of thing, that would be the only time we'd be able to get Edge versus Cena. Now, again, who knows? Never say never. You know, maybe Edge is like, hey, Tony, I want to wrestle Cena one more time. You know, where our careers are basically intertwined. Maybe Tony Khan throws Edge a bone and is like, all right, just one night only. I'll let WWE use you so you can fight your friend. That would be dope. That would be dope. I don't think that's going to happen, but man, if Edge was still in WWE, that would be a pretty good match to have. Kind of crazy that we haven't had that match since Edge came back to WWE after his injury. But if that match ever somewhat happens, or if ever finds a way to happen, man, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. That would be a whole lot of fun. So you got that. Trying to think, maybe you get another John Cena versus Seth Rollins match here. Probably, maybe. They had a nice little rivalry in that mid 2010s era when Seth Rollins first joined the Authority and everything, and turned on the Shield. They had some solid matches. I still remember that one time when Seth Rollins and him had a match and he broke his nose like right then and there, and John Cena still wrestled the freaking match and finished it. Crazy, man, crazy. You could see John Cena versus Gunther. I think that could be a solid match. We could get John Cena versus Gunther again. Don't know if they'll do a John Cena versus Roman Reigns again. They've kind of had their matches, really, to be honest. I don't think they can. I don't think they have to, but you know, if they want to have it one last time, John Cena versus Roman Reigns, that'd be cool. I will say, I hope this go around they actually give John Cena the win, because John Cena is 0-2 against Roman Reigns. He beat him back when he cooked him on the mic like a few years back, and then he beat them obviously as a tribal chief character. I could see it to where maybe this time Roman Reigns is like, you know what, I'll let you beat me this time, you know. So that's kind of the thing right then and there too. And then also that can also, even though in a weird way, when John Cena was beaten by Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, even though it was kind of like, all right, here you go, here's the passing of the torch, really. This could honestly be kind of honest to God true passing of the torch, since Cena's retiring. So who knows, maybe we get another Roman Reigns match, maybe John Cena versus Roman Reigns. I wouldn't be mad by it, you know, but this time they're both good guys, they both got respect for each other and everything, because we know John Cena, you know, he doesn't call himself the GOAT. You know, Michael Cole calls him that, but he says he calls Roman Reigns the greatest of all time with the way he's maneuvered his character to where he's at today. Obviously, John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Like, listen, you can't have a Cody Rhodes, we have to see a Cody Rhodes versus John Cena match. Cody Rhodes, I know, will definitely be pushing for this to happen. Where it happens, I have no clue. Could it be for the championship? Yes. Um, we'll definitely see. We will definitely see. I feel like that could possibly happen at a WrestleMania, maybe. I don't know. Maybe just a regular pay-per-view, maybe Elimination Chamber potentially. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. But I think that's a match that obviously I think we're definitely gonna see. You know, especially this new alliteration of Cody Rhodes. I haven't gone far back to know if John Cena's fought Cody Rhodes, you know, before he left. But you know, I know Cody Rhodes would definitely push for it. I think he's definitely been pushing for it since he came back. I think he's like begged Cena having have a match with him, which would be good. Which would be good. You could have John Cena versus Logan Paul. I know Logan Paul wants a match with Cena. That could be something that happens there. Trying to think. John Cena versus Braun Breaker. You know, talk about a way for Cena to put Braun Breaker a lot more over and essentially continue his massive push to the moon. You have Cena versus Breaker. That could be a solid match. I'm trying to think. Maybe John Cena versus Kevin Owens again. John Cena versus Sami Zayn again. I'm trying to think before I get to Randy Orton, really. Trying to go through the roster. Oh, John Cena versus AJ Styles. Have one more match there. Because they had a really good, when AJ Styles first got to WWE, they had a very good rivalry. Trying to think. John Cena versus Sheamus. You know, you could get John Cena versus Sheamus. They've had their rivalries in the past. John Cena versus Drew McIntyre potentially, because I don't know if Cena's ever fought Drew McIntyre ever. That would be a good match to see. John Cena versus Rey Mysterio. You know, we've rarely got John Cena versus Rey Mysterio matches. I think that would be a fun match to have. You know, future Hall of Famer versus Hall of Famer, just match out of respect. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see where certain things go. Maybe any members of the Judgment Day, like Finn Balor, maybe we get a match with him and Damian Priest. I don't know. There's so many guys Cena could wrestle. You know, that it could just be like a one-off, or you could actually have a storyline. Like I think like with Braun Breaker, you can actually do a storyline with that. You know, and shit, you can make it. And maybe you don't want Cena's last match to be against Randy Orton, you could have his last match be against Braun Breaker, and you can say Braun Breaker retired John Cena, in a weird way. But honestly, I think that could be like his second to last match before he ultimately retires. So yeah, maybe John Cena against Austin Theory. I don't know if they'll do that match again, but it will be good guy Austin Theory, because it seems like that's what they're gonna do. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know. You know, maybe John Cena versus Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy, as a tribute to his matches against Bray Wyatt. They could probably do that. You know, I don't know. And then obviously, clearly, but lastly, saving the best for last, Randy Orton. I think it's clear that, you know, Randy Orton more than likely could be either his last WrestleMania opponent, or more than likely, which I think actually would work better, is maybe have Randy Orton be his last match in WWE. I think if you're not going to do it at WrestleMania, it's got to be his last match in WWE. Randy Orton versus John Cena. Their rivalry is up there. That's definitely a top 3 rivalry for Cena. Top 3 rivalry for Randy Orton. Their rivalry dates back to the point his freaking Randy Orton punt kicked his dad. You know, that would be a perfect way to send it off. Obviously, Randy Orton, you know, on the WWE Rivals show, Randy Orton talked about how he wanted to have a one-on-one match with Cena at WrestleMania. Now, they did have a match at WrestleMania, but that was that triple threat match, WrestleMania 24, with him, Triple H, and Cena. That was their only WrestleMania match, but that wasn't one-on-one. But I know Orton's talked about, like, he would hope to have a WrestleMania match, him versus Cena one-on-one. If they don't decide to do it there, I think his last match should be at the last WWE event of the year in 2025. That should be his last match because honestly, I'd rather have Randy Orton fight Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania for the championship. I think that could be a pretty damn good storyline because, well, we don't know if we're gonna get Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. I guess if plans are it's gonna be Cody Rhodes versus The Rock at WrestleMania, then okay, maybe you could potentially make it be like, all right, this is where we can put um, John Cena versus Randy Orton. And yes, that could be a great match, but I feel like it'd be very emotional if it's John Cena versus Randy Orton on the last WWE event, right then and there, because it's like, well, then damn, like it's these two guys that basically came up in the business together, in their minor leagues version at the time, WWE, which I think was OVW or whatever, and they've always been essentially alongside each other. And they're basically some of the last few members of the old guard. So, it'd be very bittersweet and very emotional to see these two step into the ring one final time. So, yeah, but regardless, John Cena is retiring. It was a bittersweet announcement. I'm definitely gonna enjoy this last run of his. I'm definitely gonna have to pick up his last shirt. But it's crazy, man. If you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts, hit that subscribe button if you want to get more WWE content or any other wrestling content I upload to the channel if you want to see that. We'll see. Anyways, hit that subscribe button and I'll get out of here. Till then, guys, peace.